Okay, hello Becca. How are you doing?
I am fantastic. Really loving my week so far. I am in beautiful, sunny Scorchio, Somerset.
Why is there so many pauses between your words? Like it sounds like you're from fucking.
Somerset.
Well, no, it just sounds like you're an AI text to speech kind of thing.
It's because I need to pause to think about what I'm saying.
It's weird. I've got my right. You might hear some weird distortion in the sound quality. We're not under the duvet today. We are in we're in a little orchard. Yeah, we're in an orchard. I booked this Airbnb in Somerset for the week. Firstly, it's mine and Becca's second anniversary, and it's Becca's dad's birthday. So we've combined the celebrations and drove all the way down from the northeast of England, right down to Somerset, which is 6 hours with the toddler. That was fucking hard. But she was lovely to be fair, but we're here and it's absolutely beautiful.
And we have a stream.
Yes, and
a tyre swing.
A tyre swing and a tarzy and a treehouse. I went for a run at 9 o'clock this morning, 10 o'clock this morning, and it was already like 21 degrees. I got a bit sunburned, so it's been crazy. Apparently the high was 31, which is just nuts. But this is taking Tolkien to the tavern because we came back from the pub earlier. We'd had a few. We've continued to have a few. I had a few more while waiting for the baby to go to sleep.
I've had some scrumpy.
Or some...
and some slow gin.
Some organics. Oh, you had some gin as well.
Yeah.
It makes me... Every time you say scrumpy, it makes me think of Super Hands, from Peep Show, where we're going to sell our organic scrumpy.
Why?
From the Swan and Pedo.
And I can say that because my dad's from around here, so I can just say, well, it's part of my heritage.
Aye.
Why?
But what we thought we'd do, a little bit of a different episode today. We're going to record two back to back. We're going to pick two topics and we're going to do a little bit of off the cuff. I'm drunk enough that I thought this was a good idea. Becca's going to... you dirty bastard. We're going to record a couple of off the cuff ones about topics that I've had no real prior actual research that I normally put in. So what I do with our episodes normally is I'll look through, firstly, are they in Lord of the Rings, are they in The Hobbit? Then I'll branch out to the nature of Middle-earth, the history of Middle-earth series, and then I'll start looking at Tolkien's life in general. I'm not going to be able to do any of that today, so I might get some things wrong. And if in that case, that's who gives a fuck. But we're going to jump into it. So I've had quite a few beers. Really is a drunk history of Middle-earth. But instead of the films, we're just going to go for random topics. How does that sound to you, Becca? You seemed all right with it earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good with me. Let's go.
All right, sounds. So, well, what should we talk about first? It's really on you.
Well, I think with all the hype of this this new game that's come out.
Oh, you dick.
I think it is only fair to speak about Gollum.
What a tadger.
And his glitchy ways.
Fuck me. I showed you some videos of that game, didn't I? I was going to buy it. I really was. My thought was...
shits and giggles.
Yeah, I thought I'll buy it. I'll do a run through and we'll do a podcast episode about it.
That would be a waste of our lives.
I really don't think. So the thing is with me, if I was going to play this for the podcast, I'd have to have you there with me to play it. And it is very difficult with me, both of us working full time and raising a child, that like I have a few hours on a night. And
my attention span.
Your attention span's tragic. So either I've got to I'll play games that I'm playing. So I'm playing Street Fighter 6 at the moment and I'm playing Diablo 4. Or...
both based on very popular Tolkien works.
Very popular. Or I'll come and watch something in bed with you. So, Gollum just did not seem a good investment of my time, which, unfortunately, dear listener, I really do have to weigh up a lot of the time of whether or not it's a good investment of the time I do have. However, we'll talk about Gollum as an entity. So, funnily enough, from researching... I think it was one of the films we talked about in our last, one of our previous Drunk Talk episodes. Smeagol and Smaug both have similar roots language-wise, in that they're from Old English, And Smeagol is some form of Old English. I think it's like Smeal or something like that, or Smeag, where it means to creep in.
Fitting.
Yeah, and Smaug in, I think, Old English means to squeeze through a small hole. So there's, there's like, well, there's similarities there.
Let's just be on topic.
Yeah.
We're in Somerset, right?
Aye.
So, creeping and through small holes.
Oh, I will. Oh, yes. Before I go any further, let me tell you, we've come to Somerset, and I was ecstatic to find out that Tolkien based Helm's Deep, not the fortress, which is the Hornburg, but the actual valley and the glittering caves behind it, on Cheddar Gorge and the caves in Cheddar Gorge. However, I don't think there's any equivalent in the law for a cheese pasty that you can get there.
This sounds funnier in my head, but I'm going to look Cheddar Gorgeous when I slam that pasty into my mouth.
Terrible. Oh my God.
Didn't you say a bad joke the last time, though?
I said
I'm
a couple.
sure you
I
did.
did. I said a
A
couple.
dad joke.
I said a couple of really bad ones, but yeah, no, you look Cheddar Gorgeous anyway. You got a lovely dress on today, which is nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, alright. So
Love you.
Cheddar, I love you too. Cheddar Gorge is an episode. No, it's not. It's not an episode at all. But it will be. I'm not going to make an episode on Cheddar Gorge. No, I will be visiting.
Hole.
I will be visiting there and visiting the caves and taking some Tolkien inspiration while we're in Somerset. I just thought it was really cool. I didn't know about it prior to us getting here or like the night before, which I was just like, oh my God, no way. Just amazing. So let's enough with the preamble. Let's talk about Gollum. First of all, the game seems absolutely shite. I also posted last night or the night before during the Summer Games Fest, which I watched while you were on the phone to your mum. Yeah, you were on the phone to your mum, and for some reason you felt the need to have her on speaker.
No,
while you were both absolutely talking shit.
I thought she would stop talking when it got to the countdown. For some reason in my head, as I was watching
the countdown, she couldn't see.
Yeah, but for some reason in my head, I thought that the countdown meant that the phone would just cut out.
Well, it didn't. So I had to lay at the bottom of our bed, turn the TV up a bit, and lay like a dog and watch Summer Games Fest.
Who are you?
While you were talking to your mum.
Who are you?
Anyway, Return to Moria.
That's worth a head slap.
Why'd you have to do that?
That would be great ASMR, wouldn't it?
ASMR, just slapping a bald man's head. I shaved my head. It's not entirely bald, but anyway. Return to Moria looks pretty rough. I'm not going to lie. I saw the trailer and I said to you, like, this does not look good. It's just, ever since Christopher Tolkien died, it's like the spell over the Tolkien estate has been broken and it's now just shit games coming out. There is an Amazon MMO game in development, which hopefully is good. But
is that the one with the dwarf? What was that one with?
That's Return to Moria.
Oh, right,
that's the one that looks rough.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Does not look good. And the Gollum developers kind of like apologized for the state of the game, and they said we know it didn't meet expectations.
Don't put that shit out then.
Yeah.
If you already know that this is a shit game,
don't put it out.
Spend more time developing it.
Yeah, it's fucking.
There should be no room for apologies.
To be fair, like there's a wider argument to have about the state of gaming. It's bizarre. Anyway, let's talk about Gollum. What do you want to know about Gollum?
I want to know every nook and cranny of Gollum. Every single smelly pit of despair.
So his story starts with him being one of the ancestors of the Hobbits, which is the Stewers or the River Folk.
Yeah.
And ends with him.
That.
Yeah, ends with him in the fires of Mount Doom. I think I mentioned it in our like drunk talk episode on Fellowship of the Ring, which again I'm being optimistic because we were absolutely wrecked. But
pardon me.
I don't even know who the audience is for these types of episodes compared to the episodes we normally put out.
Hopefully they are kinky motherfuckers.
You're disgusting. You've had one scrumpy and you're like this. No. I mentioned in our fellowship episode, I think, that the Stewers were the ancestors of the Hobbit and that the kingdom of Rohan used to dwell in the north in Rovanion, which is, do you know where the north of Mirkwood and stuff like that is? In the north of Middle-earth. So the ancestors of the hobbits first kind of lived there, and that's why Rohan and the Shire have shared words for like hobbit and stuff like that. They have shared language.
Yeah.
At some point, the Stewards, which are obviously again the ancestors of Gollum, migrated west across the Anduin, the Great River in Middle Earth. For a while, they dwelt by the banks of the river. And Gollum was one of these people. And this is about 500, 600 years before the events of Lord of the Rings, where one day Gollum is fishing with his cousin Deagle, and Gollum is called Smeagol. Well, Deagle and Smeagol were fishing when Deagle found the One Ring in the Great River Anduin. This might have been around the same time that Saruman was looking in the River Anduin. Do you remember in our episode on the Astari, I said that Radagast helped him search the Gladden fields around the Anduin?
Yeah.
Might have been around this time, might have not been, it's a bit hazy. But Deagle found the One Ring, and Gollum asked him for it, said it was his birthday, which it was. Deagle said he'd already given him too much, and so Smeagol strangled him and took away.
Very weak-willed.
Oh, Smeagol, straight away. It always makes me think of... Smeagol makes me think what it'd be like if... Do you know It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia? If one of those people... Yeah, if one of those got the ring, like within seconds they'd be trying to kill within seconds they'd be trying to kill each other.
That should be an episode.
The gang gets the One Ring. Yeah, I've been watching a lot of that recently.
Because Charlie could turn into Gollum. Because Charlie would play... Like, Charlie is Gollum, really, isn't he?
Yeah. I tell you...
the way sort of his movements and that.
I don't think you've seen the episode, but I know you like Butters from South Park.
Yeah.
There is an episode called The Return of the Ring to the Two Towers or something like that. And Butters in that episode plays Gollum. And it's not the One Ring, it's a porno tape that the kids accidentally see. And they try and return. It's like Blockbuster or something.
Well, I was going to make a joke earlier about the One Ring, but then I thought it's uncouth. But you've pretty much made the joke.
We've made many ring jokes for our episodes.
Yeah, I need to get some new material.
You do. All right, but Smeagol kills Deagle, strangles him, and takes the One Ring. And Smeagol returns to his family's hobbit hole. So, for anyone listening, you've got the four hobbits in the Fellowship. So you've got like Sam, Frodo, Merry, and Pippin, right?
Pippin the Div.
Yeah, Pippin the Div. Sam lives in a house on Bagshot Row with his dad, the gaffer. Frodo is the heir to Bag End. Merry lives somewhere. He lives in Brandybuck. But Pippin is one of the more well-to-do hobbits, and he's kind of like the lesser noble of a big house. And so Pippin's sister is accused of murder, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the most influential people in Hobbit society is the Old Tuck. And Pippin's sister was the caretaker of the Old Tuck, who was a big fat woman, Hobbit. And she allegedly had an accident. And then Pippin's sister got rewarded with some jewels for it. So Pippin is part of a very big, very posh, well-to-do family. Bit Princess Diana. Who knows? Right. But the point being, so Smeagol's family was something like that. They were big and expansive, right? And they had a massive hobbit hole where everybody lived. So that's what that's what Pippin's family tend to do, is they live in a big mansion, and there's loads of parts of the family all living together in a massive mansion under the hill. And that's what Smeagol's family was like. So when Smeagol returned from fishing, he'd hidden Deagle's body.
What sneaky
Yes. And when he returned, he found that he was invisible because he was wearing the ring. And so Smeagol was already inclined to do these things. And so he snuck about and he spied on people and he gossiped. And his family members eventually started to cotton on. And so it's written that they would kick at him and he would bite their feet. So he was an absolute bastard of a person. Until eventually, the matriarch of this family, which was Smeagol's grandmother, banished him. And so he was kicked out from the Hobbit community. Like, how much of a cunt do you have to be for a Hobbit to kick you out? Like, seriously. Interestingly enough, Smeagol's family mustn't have dwelt there long, because when Sauron discovered that a hobbit had the One Ring, he sent the Nazgul searching far and wide for them. And the Nazgul went to the west of the Anduin, and they went up to the Gladden Fields or thereabouts where Smeagol's family used to be. And they couldn't find any trace of them. So at some point within 500, 600 years, between Smeagol finding the ring and the War of the Ring, they just disappeared. Now, a popular theory, or perhaps a little bit of fact that I can remember off the top of my head, is that they later migrated to the Shire, because in the Shire and in Bree, a lot of hobbits kind of migrated there and eventually set up life, and they start to call each other like the colonizers and shit like that. So there's different. So there's like the Followhides, the Stewars, and the Harfoots, who are the three ancestors of the hobbits, who make their way to the Shire to settle. And by the time of the War of the Ring, that's where like pretty much all of them are. So that's where Smeagol's family must have gone, but Smeagol went a different way. He crawled this way and that, and it says that it's explicitly written that Smeagol always had an interest in everything below the level of a flower. So like he liked looking in roots and burrows and the beginnings of things. So he'd always kind of find his way down there at the beginnings of things, and eventually, with the corruption of the ring, he found himself at a stream. And he wormed his way inside the earth.
Do you think that's maybe symbolic of his recession to like basic feral needs?
Well, like the lower he goes, the worse he is.
Well, it's just symbolic of kind of that darkness, but also like if he's interested in the roots and all that, like he's going back to his roots.
Yeah, maybe, because he eventually goes to the roots of the mountain, which is the Misty. Like, he goes to the roots of the Misty Mountains.
Yeah.
And he digs himself, like, right in deep there, and there he stays. Occasionally, he eats orcs if he can catch them by themselves, and he strangles them. But there he stays for long. He says, like, there's like a famous quote in the books where it's like, we forgot the taste of bread, the sun burned our necks, and like he even hates the sight of the moon. So when Frodo and Sam are traveling with him in Lord of the Rings, he doesn't like being out when the moon is out either. And that ties back to the Silmarillion, because the sun and the moon are both Maiar, and the sun is risen for the first time to start counting the years for men.
Yeah.
It's a little bit off the cuff, but hey ho. Anyway, he's there for a fuck long time before Bilbo comes along. And when Bilbo comes along, they play the famous game of riddles. Now, have you ever read The Hobbit?
Of course I've read The Hobbit.
You haven't, have you? You haven't. Have you?
I think no.
No. Right,
Got nothing to say.
There's a very famous part of The Hobbit called Riddles in the Dark. And if Bilbo wins the game, Gollum says he'll show him the way out.
I'd give up straight away.
You've seen the films anyway.
I'm shit at riddles, so.
Well, Gollum says if Frodo wins the game, if Bilbo wins the game, he'll show him the way out. And Gollum / Smeagol says that if Bilbo fails, he'll get to eat him. And they pass some
tasty little hobbits.
Yeah, they pass some amazing riddles, which I used to do when I was in like primary school.
It sounds like you.
Yeah, I used to say like there's one where the answer is mountains, where it's like up, 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 but never grows, and the answer is mountain. And there's another one where the answer is time, and I used to bamboozle.
You've said those to me.
Ah, yeah, I'm still using them 30 years later. I was trying to bamboozle everybody. But eventually, Bilbo ends it with the classic, what have I got in my pocket? Which is the One Ring. And Gollum cheats, but it's well known that even if Bilbo didn't necessarily give him a proper riddle, Gollum bound himself to the rules of the game by answering it. And Gollum says, string or nothing, which is wrong because Bilbo's got the One Ring in his pocket. And so he escapes the Misty Mountains with Gollum after him. And after that, Gollum sets out on a very, very, very long journey to find Bilbo. Bilbo Baggins of the Shire. And that's all he's got to go on, is Baggins and Shire. Now, Gollum travels fuck long. Eventually, he gets to Dale. So he does follow Bilbo quite well. He knows he went to Dale, and he finds that Smaug is dead. And from that, he goes back south. And this is where I get a little bit murky on the subject, because I think after that, he gets captured by Mordor, because he's drawn there by the power of Sauron reforming, and he's drawn to Mordor, and he spends quite 16 years or so as a prisoner in Mordor before he escapes. But it's more like Sauron allowed him to escape. Now, if the game is to be believed, he did a load of stupid fucking fetch quests.
And he acquires a bird that somehow then grabs some keys for him at some point.
Yeah, I saw that. And then, at some point, he works with someone called the Candleman.
You know, even though he cannot help himself but eat a lot of animals.
What a load of
raw.
shit. Yeah, he eats babies.
Yeah.
He eats
but
babies.
he really identifies with this bird.
What a load of shit. Anyway, but eventually he escapes, wink wink, from Mordor and is prowling around. And I think at that point he's captured by Aragorn, who captures him along the Dead Marshes and takes him to Mirkwood, where he's kept by the elves, who treat him very nicely. They take him for a walk in the woods, and he climbs up a tree and refuses to come down.
Sounds like our child.
Yeah, I know, right? At which point, a band of orcs attack Mirkwood, which allows him to escape. And when he escapes, he goes on the hunt again for Baggins and the Shire. And if the game is to be believed, he finds himself trapped in Moria because he can't open the westward door, which makes sense because it is. So that's how the game ends. Spoilers. Sorry to anyone who wants to play it. And if you do want to play it, why are you listening to this podcast? You obviously don't care about the law. But no, I joke. He does find himself in Moria, and he can't open the door because it is written that two dwarves have to open the door to push it aside, or one very strong person. He is neither. And it's not sure how long he stays there, but he then eventually picks up the trail again when Bilbo and company find themselves in the mines of Moria.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked last week and the week before about Eucatastrophe. And it's kind of like, it's not exactly Eucatastrophe, but for Gollum to find himself trapped in the mines of Moria, and then the way he gets out of the mines of Moria is picking up the trail of the person who has the one ring. But then he follows them through the mines of Moria, out down along the River Anduin, and after Sam and Frodo leave for the Emmen Wheel across on the east side of the river, which is not the Emmental cheese, I can see here, they tie him up with elvish rope. And once they tie him up with elvish rope, he screams and squeals and burns us, and he won't eat elvish food. And I think we've mentioned before, because the elves are so good, that's what hurts him. But eventually they let him off, and he's their friend for a bit until they're captured by Faramir, and Gollum is in the Forbidden Pool eating fish. Faramir is going to kill him until Frodo vouches for him, and blah, 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 blah. They're going to go to the Black Gate. Just before that, they were going to go to the Black Gate, but Frodo's going to take them the way of Cirith Ungol, which is where Shelob's lair is. Faramir finds out about this and begs them not to go that way, but they still do. Gollum betrays them to Shelob, and that little bastard. Once they make it through, Gollum appears again and attacks them just before Mount Doom, and Sam has a chance to kill him but doesn't, which again serves Eru's plan, because as they get to the edge of the platform where Frodo needs to throw the ring into, he claims it for himself, and at that point Gollum jumps on him and Frodo invisible. They fight, and then Gollum eventually bites his finger off, which, as he falls into the lava, that means that Gollum served, he served his plan.
Purpose.
Yeah, and he falls into the lava, and the last word Gollum utters is precious, and that's how Sauron's ring is destroyed, by a little twink.
Wouldn't like to plunder his hole.
But yeah, like that, right? That is just me off the. I've missed probably a lot. But that is me off the cuff. Like, how do you feel about Gollum there?
I love his character and how challenging he is. I can remember when I was watching the films,
Aye.
that I just like your perspective on him changes so much. He goes from you're like, oh, there's a little bit of good, kind of trust him, like his character, and then he betrays them, and you're like, you feel like you've been bamboozled as well by his trickery. So yeah, I do like Gollum's character for it being challenging, but Gollum himself is a shit show. But also, he clearly had that intent and these sort of tricky, sneaky ways about him before becoming full-on Gollum. So I feel like he's just kind of embraced that side of his character since The Ring.
Like, Gollum's an interesting creature. He's like a creature of two parts, because there's the evil part of him and then there's the good part of him, because there is a chance where Tolkien himself wrote about, from what I can remember, Tolkien himself wrote about how Gollum could have been redeemed. And there's a moment in the books where Gollum looks on Sam and Frodo while they're asleep, and it says that, like, all the light, like all the malice and hunger disappears from Gollum's eyes, and he looks like a very old, very weary hobbit. And he paws Frodo's knee and just kind of like looks at him, and that could have been the moment where Smeagol could have been redeemed forever. Yeah, you're making the eyes, and that's right. But then Sam wakes up and says, "What are you doing, you sneaker?" And then Gollum's like, "Sneaking," and that's kind of that was the point for Gollum, and Tolkien explicitly states this. That was the point for Gollum, where it was completely irredeemable. It was lost forever. And it's so sad. But I think I mentioned in the Eagles episode where Gollum, ultimately, I don't think he'll face any kind of like punishment or anything from Eru, because him being exactly the way he was allowed the ultimate victory.
Yeah.
And that's another point as well. I'm just springing this on you now. Sauron was defeated in the Third Age, right? Or let's say we're the Seventh Age of Middle-earth.
Yeah.
Us now. Would you say that World War One or Two was greater threat than Sauron?
No.
No? Why?
Because my brain stopped working.
Yeah, true. Right. Yeah, so do you feel like you know a little bit more about Gollum? Do you know a bit more of his complete story?
Yes.
Do you have any other questions that I can answer
No.
about him? Really? None at all?
Something will come up, but probably not when I'm slightly drunk.
No, fair dues. So I'm going to go and get another drink, and we're just going to go and chill, but...
I'm sorry, guys, I haven't got a burp left in me. As a parting
you're disgusting.
present.
No, you're disgusting. Right. So yeah, this isn't a well-researched Gollum episode. There's no academic journals.
No frills.
It's just me off the cuff talking about Gollum. I hope you've learned something about him. If you haven't, email me, lotradhome@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram. Please, share us, leave us a review. Whatever you can do will help us move about. But yeah, give me a shout if there's any questions about the law. I'm always happy to talk about it. But yeah, we're going to say goodbye for now. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Just some off-the-cuff drunk talk. So goodbye from me, Chris.
And goodbye from me, Rebecca. We're jumping on our helicopter now.
Yeah, bye everyone.
Bye.